Okay, let me quickly share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are in the session JavaScript. So why this JavaScript is used for? So which is like we just have to take an insight of why this JavaScript is used for and where it is useful, and then we will start with the basic JavaScript and how we will be making use of this JavaScript in our programming. Okay. So generally, when we are dealing with the front end programming, so front end we'll be calling it as a front end, or we'll be talking about web programming, right? Or we will be discussing about web development. So all these things which leads to websites or web applications. So later on it will be used with the mobile app. So that is different case. So when it comes to the front end and uh, when we deal with the web applications and whatever we will be using for any applications to define and which will be useful in the browser based applications, we'll be dealing with this web JavaScript, right? So JavaScript is mainly for the web sites or web applications where it will be coming with the browser. So in the browser, it will be having the default compiler and where the JavaScript will be running on that particular. So JavaScript usually includes in your HTML along with HTML where we'll be using with the CSS part to define with. So all these things which comes into a web, whatever the application or a site, whatever you will be calling it as. So this is the scenario where it comes in JavaScript comes into the picture. So I think all of you aware of this HTML, CSS and all. So if anyone don't know about HTML, CSS, just let me know. Are all of you aware of it? You can type in the chat window so that I can know about whatever you're saying. So all of you know HTML, CSS, or if you want me to brief about HTML, CSS. You can type in the chat window so that I can. If you know HTML, CSS, you just type I know, or else if you don't know, you just type I don't know HTML, CSS. Okay, most of the people I receive that don't know. Okay, just brief about the HTML, CSS, how to make use of it, and then we will go to the JavaScript. So we just in this sessions, what is our target is to like we just develop a simple web application or a web simple site based upon simple JavaScript and how we'll be dealing with it and how to make use of a CRUD operation with a simple JavaScript and not in the level of the database and all. We just do in a simple API handling level with CRUD. Okay, so whenever we have this API handling level, so which is like the APIs on the back end will be ready so that we can take care of it. So that is the target for these sessions. So we simply do a simple web part of our application. So with that we can do a CRUD application. What is a CRUD like? Which is we can create data, read data, update data, and delete data. So we can deal with any of those users and whatever we'll be having. We can handle with the users, we can handle with the products, or we can handle with the post, whatever we will be using. So we can just take care of the data manipulations, how it will be handling in the web pages. Without any HTML creation, we can make use of the creating of the elements when it is necessary with the JavaScript and all. We'll be taking care of them. For that, I what I'll use is like the tool to program or to tool to do the programming of the web. I'll be using Visual Studio Code that will be available. That is open source and free to use. You can download the Visual Studio Code and you can make use of it. So the typically that Visual Studio Code looks like so this. So it will be looking like this with all extensions it will be having. So if you can see the left hand side, there will be extensions will be there. After installing the Visual Studio Code in your system, it will be looking like this and it will be having an extensions. And if you go to the extensions, I just want to run my web applications in the browser with a HTTP extension, not with a FTP. So I just want to use this live server for this one. So which is live. If you type the live over here, there'll be a first thing live will be there. And it was already installed in my system so that you will get the install over here and you can install it and it will be working fine with you. Okay. Then this is the part what you have to configure at the entry level. So after that, if you go to the file explorer, just open any folder. So here we can also make use of the cloned repository, but we are not targeting in the system. So which is, I mean, in these sessions, we're just trying to, create a physical folder in the desktop, and we will be making use of it like this. So I'll be naming it as an uh, session JS. So session JS it will be. Here I have opened the session JS folder. Just click on the page. So I'll be taking the index.html for this one. Just give me a minute. Yep, I'm back. So we have to open a folder and then create a file. So I'll be index.html. And to create a HTML structure, we'll be using with exclamation. So it will be automatically give you a structure of it so that we can make use of the structure. And this is a simple page where we can make use of it. And in this, if you want to write any content, it will be like this. And if you want to open this page, you can right click on this page and you can open this open live server. So once you install with your live server, it will be coming with your live server like this, and you can open that page in the live server, and it will open this page in the browser. So if you can see it over here, this content, and it will be appearing over here. If you can copy paste that URL if it is not visible for you. So this is the URL. So this is the default port for any system, which is comes in the HTTP with the default port 127.0.0.1. So it will also be sometimes like you can also be accessed like this, which is local host with the port 5500. Sometimes if the port is occupied, it will choose automatically with the other port. So the URLs, these two are the things which is the same thing. And instead of 127.0.0.1, we'll be getting localhost. So these two are the things. So if you can see here, the page it is open. So how this page is executing in the browser. So as we are developers, we need the developer tools, right? So we can inspect this or right click on this page and go to the inspect. We'll be having the developer tools window over here. If you can see, this is the developer tools window, and you can see how the page is parsing. So we can make a note of it. The browser parses the HTML page. It will not, so the execution process of a HTML page in a browser is the parsing, not the compiling, not the interpretation. It is the parsing. The browser uses the technique to execute a page, HTML page in a browser, right? So this is the page. If you can see, this is doc type HTML head body, and if you can come to the body, we have the content. If I am selecting over here, it will be selecting over here. If you can see, or else if you can have the selector, you can select this, and you can also see this what it is happening. Okay, so this is how the page is executing in a browser, which is like how we are doing over here, and how it is executing over here is the matter over here. So we can also come to the styles part. So a little later. So just what is the styles part and what is this box that is coming up and all. I'll come to that a little later. So if you can see here, this is a basic HTML page, and HTML page will be having the doc type, and this is the doc type where it indicates the document type. I just copy this and I will open a text file. You can write any number of files over here. So I just use this. So in the HTML page, this is the main structure, right? So which is like doc type. Doc type indicates the document type, and where the browser identifies the document as HTML, and it will execute in the browser. So it is the indication that this page is a HTML page in the browser. And next is the container element. If you can see it over here, the HTML, everything which will be having inside into it, and where the head and body are the two main sections into this, right? So we can say that HTML is the root or container element where it have two main sections, okay, which is head contains non-visual elements, where the elements we cannot see, right? So just like if we can see the head part, we can't see it in the browser. So if you can see only the body part, it will be visible over here in the white space. Whereas in the head part, we are not able to see any elements over here, right? So that is the thing called head contains non-visual elements and the body contains visual elements. Okay. And head contains the meta name, all these things, the title, everything will be having, right? So we'll be having some predefined elements where we'll be working on it. So now we will be define HTML. What is HTML? Or in the interviews, we'll be getting the questions like this: explain HTML, or what is HTML? So we can simply say that the HTML is the browser is not only the browser, so just like we can say browser understandable, browser understandable language. It is the only one? No, it is one of the right. HTML is one of the browser's understandable language, right? And we can define it in another way. So when we are talking about the websites, what it is, the scenario it will be happening is from the computer or a laptop, or we can say it as a user. User sends a request to a server, right? And the server receives and validates, and then the server responds with the response to the user. This is how the scenario it will works, right? So in globally, we are requesting. So which is like you are typing something in the browser. So just like you are requesting to the server, and then the server responds to that particular URL, and it will sends the data, or if it is having the data according to the usage, I mean according to the URL validation, and then it will send back the data. Or else if the URL is not valid, then it will send an error message that I don't have it. So just like we'll be having different error codes for this one. So just like if you are having based on the status codes, so we'll be discussing the status codes and all. So based on the status code, it will be responding to the user what we need to have to do further, right? So likewise, if we are using like this, which in this, how I am defining is whenever I am requesting the server, whenever I am requesting the server, server has to respond. And when we are requesting the server will respond with an information, right? So the information is coming and patching in this particular browser. So which is we can also define that HTML is the information, or we can say the content, right? Traversing through the HTTP protocol is nothing but the HTML, right? So it's just like we'll be having the traversing, it's traversing to HTTP protocol. What is this HTTP protocol? Hypertext transfer protocol. And then hence we'll be saying this HTML as hypertext markup language. Why this hypertext means the information, whatever we'll be getting through URL is nothing but the hypertext. And it is through transfer protocol. It is transferring the data from node there to here. The protocol is the one where it will communicate from your server to the client. And when the language it comes to the markup, what is the meaning of a markup? Means which is like it will be having from here to here and here to here, which is like body starts here and ends here, head starts here and ends here. It's just like a marking, so just like an XML, so which is like it is also derived from a language called XML, which is extensible markup language, and where it is defined like this. So, and the latest version of the HTML we are using is the HTML5, and this is how the HTML can be defined. So, just like HTML is one of the browser's understandable language, and HTML is the information or content traversing through HTTP protocol. And we can also define in another way, like HTML is a collection of elements, right? Which is, if we can see in the browser, all these are all coming into the elements part. So if you can see here, this is the elements part. This is the console part. When you see the element section, you can see the all the elements listed, which is HTML, head, body, all these things. So when it executes, this is the one where HTML is the collection of elements and HTML is the container element, is the root or container element where it will have two main sections, which is head, body, and head contains non-visual elements and body contains visual elements. So like this, we'll be defining the HTML, and the HTML is something like this. And we are discussing about the elements, such as it is a collection of elements, right? So what is an element? We can define. Elements are the one where we can wrap up our content. So which is like H1, H1. Also, generally, element refers to the content wrappers. We can say the content uh, wrapper, which we'll be using in the HTML, which is used to define content. And there are predefined elements in the HTML. So which is like we can define some content with already existing, styles or whatever we'll be having. So there are some predefined elements like headings. So when it comes to the headings, we'll be having H1 to H6. So for example, if I want to make a heading, I'll be using H1 over here and I'll be using. So now I'm refreshing it and I'm opening the page and I just, if you can see here, the content has been modified as a heading. How the heading is looking like a heading? You can see if you click on here, there is a style part it is happening over here on the right side of your browser console, right? So this is the elements part. If I click on the H1, you click on any other element, you can see the difference. If you click on the H1, you can see that there is a displaying font, all these things are coming up over here. Yeah. So this is how the HTML makes up this predefined elements. So these are predefined already. The headings will be should be like this, and paragraph should work like this. Like that, will have H1 to H6 headings. So we can also see the H6 heading. If we can see it over here, it will be little small. I'll just try to enlarge it. Now, if you can see it over here, H6, it is with 0.67 em kind of thing. So this is how the HTML with predefined elements it will work. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of elements it will be having. So which will be having these headings defined from H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. And after the H6, if you use the H7 and all, it will treat as a normal content only. And we'll be having the, for defining the paragraphs, we'll have the P element. And for making use of, so I'll define a simple paragraph over here. If you can see, small paragraph it will be look like this. And if you can see, this is heading, this is head H1, this is paragraph, this is small heading kind of thing. Likewise, we can have many elements which is already predefined, so that if we use those tags, it will be like this. So what if it is not predefined? For example, I'm using a demo. Demo is an element, and I'm using a demo content over here. So demo is not a predefined element, and if you can see it over here, there are no styles appearing for this, which is the demo content, which is appearing like a simple content, whatever the text content it will be happening. Not like this. If you can see, this is occupying, you can see that there is orange color, blue color, all these are all coming up. But for the demo, it is not coming up any orange color, only the content, which is the blue color, is appearing. What is this orange color and what is this blue color and all, we'll see little later when we discuss about the CSS box model. But here, what I'm trying to say is predefined elements occupy some space and which is already defined in every browser. But when it comes to the normal and customized elements, it will treat as a content only. So which is there, they will be treated as a content elements, not even as an inline elements. So when it comes to the inline elements, so I just use some bold tag over here to make my paragraph, this paragraph as a bold text. Texting, and you know right, so just how to do the bold text and all. So just like if you can see this bold tag, which is giving you the font weight bold for the particular element, and it is displaying in the bold type. So likewise, we'll be having a text formatting element to define. So text formatting elements. So this is in relevant to your Word document. When you prepare a Word document, you'll be having all these things, right? Bold, italic, and underline, inserted, all those things. So there are a lot of things like this. So just like we'll be having the B and strong elements for defining the bold tag and strong, and EM for emphasizing, which is like we'll be using for italic, and we'll be having a big, small, and INS, EL, and then we have SUB content. So there are some text formatting elements to format your text, which is we can make use of this text formatting elements, which is to format our text whenever we're writing in the paragraphs or any other data, we can make use of it. So when it comes to the B and strong, it will be making the elements bolder or stronger, you can say. So which is like it will be getting an font in a CSS property font weight bold for this one. And when it comes to the EM, it will be, you can see, in the place of B, I'll be using EM, and you have to use it with starting and ending. So if you can see it over here, this is the EM. What you can see, this font style is italic. So likewise, we can have many things. You can do it over here, which is by using all these things. It is just giving you, it will control this formatting of the text by using the font sizes and all. So big, small, insert, delete, and you have this idea about, when you are using a square kind of thing, super text, I mean, subscriber text and um, superscripted text, which is like a square, b square kind of thing. In the sub, we'll be using a2 log x kind of thing. We'll be using subscribed, superscripted, and subscripted text. Just the text formatting elements. So you just try it out, and if you want to let me know, you can. I'll just clear it up. And we have a container element called dev. So this is a container element, and where we'll be having a blocks of code. So which is like if you want to write a different block, you can make use of the dev over here, and you can make use of it. So for example, I'm just using a dev over here, and I'm ending this dev over here. Okay, so we just make use of some alignment over here, which is dev, and I'm making another div block to have this paragraph like this. So this is my content. Now you can see it over here. We have two divs. This is one div and this is another div. So this div contains this one, which is having a h1 and p, which is a block, and this div is having h6, which is another block it will be having. Yeah, somebody is saying. If you are not talking to me, please go on mute. Thank you. So if you want to talk to me, you just send me over the chat window so that I can address your questions, because it's an online session, so everyone will be, you should be in mute so that we can address your question. If you want to address your questions, you can chat over the chat window so that I can see it in your chat window, and I will address your question and I will answer your question. Okay, so this is how the dev it will be coming up, and there are a lot many other elements we'll be having. So which is for we'll be making the list. So in the document, if you are making the list, we will be using an ordered list, right? So unordered list, which we'll be talking about UL and order list. And we'll be having a definition list also. The definition list will be having DTs and DTs. But as of now, we are not familiar with that. So I'm not just taking and I'm not confusing at this point of time. And every unordered list and ordered list will be having a list item inside. So which is list item inside, which is the element we'll be calling it as li. And the structure we'll be using for this one is like this. So for example, UL I'll be taking and li it will be having. So I'll be using item one kind of thing, and I'll be using So it is item 2, item 3 kind of. So if you can see it over here, it will be displaying like this. So just this is appearing like a list. So how it is appearing like a list? If you can see, this is having a simple style, and again, if you can see it over here, UL will be having a simple style, and inside that LA will be also having another style, right? So based on the predefined style, so if you can see it over here where it is coming from it is user, agent, style sheet. So which is user, agent, style sheet, which is defaultly defined in the browser. So to make use of that, like we'll be simply making of those structures and we'll be using over here. So like that, if you put the OL over here, instead of UL, we can make use of the OL so that it will be coming with the order. So order list is just like and we'll be having the numbers over here, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. You can also change that to Roman numbers, alphabets and all. So that is, we can make use of any type attribute over here. If we can see the type, we'll be having A, B, C, D, or the Roman numbers kind of thing. So which is if I use the Roman number over here, it will be displaying like 1, 2, 3 Roman numbers over here. So that's up to you. So just you can add a type over here. So adding this type additionally to this one, so which is called it as an attribute. We will also come to that before defining this one. And how do we define a tag? So which is like we need to have to define a tag, right? So what is a tag? So tag is that when we are wrapping up our element inside a fragment, right? So we are talking about all the elements, which is HTML is an element, head is an element, P is an element, div is an element. All these are elements. So if you can see, this is an element, but we are wrapping inside this, right? So just less than and greater than symbols. So less than and greater than symbols are nothing but this one, and ending with this one is called a fragment. So wrapping up an element inside a fragment is nothing but a tag. And we'll be having two types of tags. What are all those? Elements with the start, I mean the tags with the starting and ending, which is like start and end tag. For example, if you can see head, body, div, h1, p, all these are all starting and ending tags, right? Which is having a container element we'll be talking about, and the tags with self-closing tags. Self-closing tag. The self-closing tags will be like this. If you can see the meta, if you can see it over here. And there are a lot many of others will be coming in the visual elements as well. For example, if you want to define an image, right? Image is a self-closing tag. It will not have any ending tag for this. We'll see what is an image and how it will go. And we'll be having the inputs, the form elements. Those are all the self-closing tags. So all this I just listed over here. So before that, I just want to give the difference between element. So element is a content wrapper which is used to define the content and will be having the predefined elements. And when we are making use of this elements inside a fragment, will be calling it as a tags. And there are two types of tags: self and self-closing tags and tags with the starting and ending. So this is how we'll be defining the HTML part. So HTML, which will be having like this, and we need to have to furtherly use it uh, when you are explaining. So just like when you are trying to explain the HTML, the sequence it should be like this. It is one of the browser understandable language, and it is the information or the content traversing through the HTTP protocol, and it is a collection of elements. When we are saying about the elements, so with the first element we see in the browser is, the HTML is the document type, where the browser identifies the document as HTML, and then the HTML content HTML page will be having a root or container element where it is having two main sections. Head part, which is the non-visual elements. Body part will be having the visual elements. And then we can say HTML is a collection of elements. And what is an element? Element is the content wrapper, which is used to define content. There are predefined elements in HTML. And when we are representing the element inside a fragment, so this is called the fragment when we are using the empty tags, or we can say this is the less than and greater than less than with whatever we'll be using. These are called the fragments. So when we are representing the elements inside the fragments, we'll be calling it as a tags. And coming to the tags, we'll be having two types of tags we'll be having. Like that, if you can see some of the information we are giving over here, if you can see meta, the character equals to, we are including some more information, additional information over here in this tag. And likewise, I have given OL type equals to I and all these things. So adding or providing additional information to the elements is nothing but attribute. So we can define like this, what is an attribute? Attribute is an additional information provided to the elements, and we can define like this. And we have the attributes, like there are three types of attributes we'll be having. So first one is predefined, second one is a class, third one is an ID. So for example, predefined, when it comes to the predefined, we'll be having lot many. So if you can see the type equals to AI, I mean I is a predefined. And likewise, we have the href, which is whatever the URL. For example, I just want to make use of the http www.google.com, and this is for Google. Okay, and I'm just saving it. And if you can see, there is a link appeared. So this is called the hyperlink, and if you can click on it, it will be giving you the Google page over here, right? So this defining these elements like this is called the hyperlinks, and previously it will be calling it as an anchor text, but now we'll be making use of this as a know, elements. So just like you can also list it over here, which is hyperlinks. Hyperlinks are used to define any links in the page. So which is define links in the page. And when it comes to the attributes, if you can see, href is the default attribute. And also we'll be having a target which is equals to blank or parent, whatever you'll be using. If you can use it, it will be opening in the new tab. If you can see, this tab is still open, but previously it was open in the same thing, right? So this is how it will be opening in a new tab. To open in the new tab, we need to have to use it with a or target equals to blank. And the target, href, this type, all these are all predefined attributes. And if you want to make use of these attributes to handle in any custom way, we can add a classes for this. To add these classes, we will be seeing it in the CSS, classes and IDs, and how it is useful in the CSS and all. We'll see. But as a startup session, so just like I just want to stop it over here. If you can see how we are defining the HTML and what is our motto to define this HTML, to because to control those elements programmatically by using the script, we'll be using the JavaScript. And in the next session, we'll be concluding with this HTML, and then we will start with the basic CSS, and we'll define some web pages, and then we'll go to the JavaScript. So that is the insight. And any questions for the newcomers uh, about the HTML, about the program installation, and how do we get that tool, Visual Studio Code tool, and what to install in that and all. So do you have any idea? And if you want me to repeat anything, I just repeat over here. Everyone is fine. Or else do one thing, you can go through the recording session once and you can check that. And if you have any questions, you just let me know in the tomorrow session. Okay. As this is the first session, I'll be taking a limited time, but yes, I can spend more time in the from the next session. So definitely I'll make sure. Okay. So if you have any questions, then stay back and you can unmute your mics and you can talk to me. Or else if you don't have any other questions, feel free to drop off. We'll see you in the next session at the same time. Nothing, you just have to follow whatever I just mentioned over here. And I'll also provide some material so that you can go through it. It's a text kind of a text material, you can go through it. And probably if you can follow the videos, that will be more than enough. Okay, it looks like no one have any other questions. We'll wrap here and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you. Thank you, Anurag.